In a quiet town tucked away in the middle of nowhere lay a place called Hidden View. The townspeople were known for their distrust of outsiders. No one new had moved there since the early 1970s. That year marked the last time a child was born and survived. That child was named Jennifer. She grew up shunned and whispered about. How had she lived when no one else did? Was she a witch? Ever since her birth, every child born after her never made it past their first breath. The people murmured that the little girl's family had cursed the town. They were different folk, non-religious, the hippie type. Hidden View preferred things traditional. They didn't like how Jennifer smiled at everyone she met, how her greetings seemed to linger in the air too long, too warm for a place so cold. No one can be that happy, they'd say. At school, the other children called her names, yanked her hair, and ran away as if her kindness might catch on. She grew up feeling utterly alone. One day, when Jennifer turned 16, she vanished. No one ever heard from her again. Her family was distraught, their only child, gone without a trace. Around the same time Jennifer went missing, strange disturbances began in Hidden View. Nights would start off calm, like any other Wednesday, until someone would hear a low, rumbling voice. The voice was deep, gravelly, unnatural. Soon it began creeping into the townspeople's dreams. Those who heard it said it spoke their name just once, before everything went silent. And from that silence, something began to stir. No longer could people speak at full volume. Everything became a whisper. They whispered so the monster stalking them couldn't catch their thoughts. At first, it only came at night, slithering through the shadows while the town slept. But as the years passed, the monster began to appear in the daylight too. It spoke to each person differently, using their own voice to whisper their deepest fears. It told them that no one would love them if their secrets were ever known. And soon, the town began to change. People walked with forced smiles and hurried steps. Eyes darted instead of meeting. Conversations grew short and strained. Could they hear my thoughts too? They wondered. No longer did neighbors visit one another. Families stopped gathering. Hidden View had become a town of locked doors and closed hearts. People stayed inside their homes. The outside world was too dangerous to be caught in, too uncertain to wander through. Since Jennifer was the last child born, most families had grown old. No more children filled the playgrounds or classrooms. The elementary and middle schools closed first. The high school would soon follow. The townspeople told themselves, "We don't need schooling. Life will teach us everything we need to know." They bought televisions that blared at full volume to drown out their own thoughts. Books became useless, relics of another time. Every night, the glow of static filled their living rooms. They left their televisions on while they slept, afraid of what the quiet might bring. Jennifer's family stayed in town for as long as they could bear it. Her room remained untouched, a time capsule of the 1970s. The rest of the world had changed, but their home stayed the same, locked in mustard yellows and faded florals. Eventually, her mother and father realized they no longer belonged in a place so hollow, so void of spontaneity. So they left Hidden View behind. And the town grew even quieter. only whispers remained. Jennifer. But the town's silence grew heavier, and the monster grew bolder. There was one night in particular that would change the course of this small town with even smaller views. In the middle of the night, the mayor and his family were sleeping soundly. The mayor awoke to the sight of a shadowy figure hovering above him. He rubbed his eyes, but the figure remained. Dark, shifting, like smoke. Through trembling breath, he stammered,
"Who are you?"
The figure didn't answer. It stared at him, edges rippling like mist. Slowly, it raised a bony finger and pointed directly at the mayor. Confused, he tried again.
"What are you?"
The house began to shake. The figure's form darkened, twisting into anger. Still, its finger never moved. It began to mutter something under its breath. The deep, guttural sound that made the air tremble. It leaned closer until its breath brushed his ear. And in a whisper, it said,
"I am what you fear the most."
Suddenly, a face appeared on the shadowy figure. The mayor was horrified to see something familiar, someone he long forgotten. Before he knew it, the mayor began to choke. Panic filled his soul as the figure's grip tightened around his throat. He caught a glimpse not of the monster, but of his father. When the mayor was a little boy, his mother died, and from that moment on, his father became a tyrant. The mayor had a terrible stutter when he was young, and each time the father heard it, he would beat him. He would sneer.
"You sound stupid, boy. Speak like you have a lick of sense."
The boy grew up terrified of his father and vowed to never become like him. But sometimes, what we wish is not what we become. The mayor was just as much a bully as his father had been. He did unto his son what was once done to him. The mayor was not a kind man. He never faced the secrets of his past. He buried them beneath his power. One day, Jennifer was walking home from school. The mayor saw her and hated everything about her. She was happy. She smiled, even through pain. And as he watched her, something inside him began to stir. A voice rose from the shadows of his mind, quiet but sharp, until it was all he could hear. The voice whispered, "She's a witch. She's the reason you're stuck with that boy. You were meant to have a daughter, but she died in the hospital, didn't she? And now you're left with a son, just like you, weak and stupid." The mayor needed the voice to stop. It clawed at his mind day and night, twisting every thought until he could no longer tell what was real. So, he did the only thing he thought would silence it. He took Jennifer, and he got rid of her. In his mind, it was all her fault anyway. She was the reason for the whispers, the fear, the unease that never left the town. No one liked her. No one would miss her. At least that's what he told himself. Back at the mayor's house, he screamed for mercy. He cried out that he was sorry. Just make the voices stop, he begged. And then, suddenly, the figure stopped. The next morning, the mayor drove to the place where he had buried Jennifer. On the way there, he called the police. When they arrived, he led them to the spot. The grave was marked with something small and delicate, one of the items he had bought years ago for his unborn daughter. He thought it was fitting. As the officers placed the cuffs around his wrists, he looked at one of them and muttered, "Does this mean I'm a good boy now? Will the voices stop?" The officers said nothing. They just shook their heads and led him away. From that day forward, strange news spread through Hidden View. One of the officers' wives was expecting a child. For the first time in decades, life had returned to the town. The curse had been broken,